Welcome, everybody, to episode 9 of The Female Perspective from MXP Magazine. I'm your host, Jackie Riess, joined by Lindsey Bradley this week. We're back in action, buddy, and we have Daytona to cover. Very iconic race, in my opinion. I've never been, but it's definitely on my bucket list. How about you?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun down there. That's probably one of my favorite supercrosses to go to. Mind you, I've only been to Toronto when they had it and Daytona, but Daytona is a whole different vibe and I love it. It's awesome. I think just the vibe of being down there during the winter, like a Canadian winter, it's awesome too.
hmm Yeah, there were a lot of Canadians, it seemed like, down there this week. Is that like
Yeah.
a destination that people really think about going to?
I just know that a couple of my buddies have like they go down there and do the amateur portion of the week this week. So they're down there racing, but I think it's just because we can't ride in Canada during the winter, obviously, then they're if they're already down there training, then there's no sense why you wouldn't go, you know? So
Yeah.
I don't I think that a lot of those guys are already down there, so they might as well just go racing, get some gate drops under their belt before the season starts here too. It's
Yeah.
coming fast, so
Yeah, for sure. And I hope it comes faster. We got like 5 inches of snow a couple days ago here, so I'm ready for that to be gone and spring to come.
yeah, it was like spring weather the last couple days, and then all of a sudden tonight it started snowing again and it's down below freezing. So the
Nice.
weather's been up and down, and I just want the springtime to come.
Mm.
I'm ready for it.
Yeah, me too. Coming back to Daytona, the track was pretty interesting this year. I feel like it was a bit longer, a lot more going on to it at the track this year. Lots of different kinds of soil, which proved to be interesting for people. But one of the more notable parts for me was the split lane, and I was honestly surprised at how equal those two lanes ended up becoming for the racing.
Yeah, it was definitely a different style. They had the split lane, and they had two sets of whoops, and they had an over under. So there was a lot of different things going on. And I think at one point I heard Carmichael say that it was 20 seconds longer than previous years, which wasn't at all surprising. It's a pretty big infield they have there, but yeah, I liked it. I like the design. It's a little bit more wide open than your average Supercross track, but I really liked it.
hmm I do too. It's nice to have something different in the series, right? It's not the same old stadium every week. With that, like more outdoor style, I think it took out a lot of the portions that would differentiate people, and we saw that with just how close the lap times were. Even in the top 20, top 40, like all those lap times were only within a few seconds, which is a little bit different than the normal tracks.
Yeah, for sure. It made for good racing, big time.
hmm Yeah, I agree. Um, Canadian for the Canadians participating at Daytona. I'm gonna start with Julian Bennick.
Mhm.
Wow, wild crash. Okay, I'd never really seen bars just break off the mountain like that. But then we see it again later in the evening with Garrett Marchbanks. Um, but
Yeah.
like overall, just a major bummer for Julian. Broken leg out of the whole incident.
Yeah, it sucks big time. That would have been his first Supercross, and he signed with PRMX this year, and he's been riding really well. He's a really good Supercross guy. He's like 7 feet tall, so I think he would have benefited there big time. And yeah, it's a bummer. He's one of the fast Canadian kids, so it sucks to see. But it is odd that we saw that happen twice in one night with Marchbanks as well.
hmm Yeah, we
And
were talking. Go ahead.
sorry, I was just gonna say I don't even think Marchbanks crashed. I think he got pretty lucky in that way where Julian crashed in a rhythm. So
hmm
um yeah, I think Marchbanks got lucky, and it wasn't even on camera, I don't think is what they said. They just caught him walking back and the bars were way down.
Yeah, we were talking, and I think the Mikas and the ODIs are made in the same factory, so maybe like they had a bad batch or something. I don't know, but pretty wild, like you said, and that we saw that twice in one night on the same track. Two different two different riders, so two different
Right.
teams, and like just a lot going on. What a coincidence, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Guillaume Saint Cyr qualified 47th and is getting closer to that top 40. I think this track probably played into his strengths for sure.
Yeah, I think so too, being a little bit more wide open. I mean, he is a good Supercross guy for sure, and but I was really hoping for him to get in there. I think Daytona would have been one of the ones that he could have done it at, and I'm not saying that he can't do it at any others, but Daytona definitely played into a lot of people's favor for sure, and I think he could have made it happen there.
hmm Yeah, hopefully Atlanta's at Atlanta Motor Speedway, so hopefully that will be, having Daytona under his belt will make Atlanta just that much better too.
Yeah, for sure.
Tanner Ward qualified 31st. He was within 1 second of the top 20. So like I was saying earlier, like the top 20 is like all super close, but like 20 through 40 was almost within the same second, which is pretty wild. But Tanner doing well. Got 12th in the heat, and then just had a bad start in the LCQ and wasn't able to make it happen. But this is the closest he's been so far.
Yeah, he has been riding really well. And when I saw him in 12th there, he was only a few seconds from 10th.
Hmm.
And even from ninth too. So like you said before, their lap times were all within a second. And I think that he's right on that brink of getting in. So I think he's got it here soon. Hopefully anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I think with a series like this, you can't just expect to, automatically be in. Like, it's something new, it's something different. Like, just getting used to, like, the format of the series itself is a challenge. So, going from a regular race to a Triple Crown, now back to a regular race, but it's not actually regular because it's more moto, because it's Daytona. Like, there's a lot going
Yeah,
on for all these riders, but especially if you're new to the series, it could probably be overwhelming.
for sure. Absolutely good.
250 East. There's a lot of guys out with injury. Like coming into this series 2, 3 weeks ago in Minneapolis, we're like, oh wow, this field is going to be stacked. Like the West Coast seemed a little bit weaker, like talent wise, but not the case anymore. We have
No.
nobody on Star Racing Yamaha anymore. Austin Forkner out too. Like there's just a lot going on. A lot of guys going out for injury.
Yeah, it sucks big time because a lot of the top guys are out for injury. So I mean, I think that Forkner and some of the star guys could have really played a big factor in the championship, East Coast Championship. So yeah, it's a bummer, but I mean, it is what it is, racing incident, so it happens to everyone.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, just a bummer. Like you want all those guys there just to make better racing, and then
That's right.
uh, it's kind of disappointing, but we've still been seeing really great racing of the guys that are left out there. And like we've said before, it's part of the game to stay healthy and stay in it. So
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a bigger part of their weekend is just making sure they stay on two wheels. So for sure.
Do you want to start with where do you want to start? I think maybe we could start with Jett. It's uh, the heat for Jett. He's doing great. All of a sudden, he's like pulling off the track, thinking it's the checkered flag, but really it's not. It's the white flag, so he gets going again. What do you make of it? Rookie mistake or just not thinking straight?
Yeah, I think so. What he said on the podium there, he looked at the time the lap before and he was like close, so he thought that they would make it before the time ran out, which would then they would only throw the checkered out for a heat race. So then I think he just made the mistake of not looking at the clock before he crossed the finish line for the almost the last time, but the second last lap. But yeah, I think it was just a rookie mistake. And he his podium was funny. He didn't really know what to say because they asked him about it. They're like, "What happened?" And he's like, I don't even know. I'm not really sure." So yeah, I think it was just a rookie mistake. It happens to everyone. So
Mhm. You ever made that
it's
mistake?
I don't think not that I recall. No, but yeah, the white and the checkered are pretty easy to tell apart.
Yeah.
I think. I think the time really messes people up though.
Hmm.
Where you're either before it or after it, and before or after, depending on it depends whether or not you get the white flag or not. So, yeah, I think it really messes with people. But no, I've never. Have you?
No, I don't think so, but I don't know. We've always like had the mentality like you go till the checkers. Like I've been at local
Yeah,
races where they've messed up, the flags on the number of laps and you're like still
right.
going and you're like, well, I guess we're just still going. It's supposed to be 4 laps, but it's
Yeah,
five or whatever. And
yeah,
so I guess I'm just in that mentality. So I think maybe you're onto something like the timing of things. If you think
yeah,
about it too much, will throw you off.
yeah. I mean, I've definitely gotten more than one white flag before.
Hmm.
I think that was just on the finish line flagger's mistake. But
Right.
I mean, yeah, I think it really comes down to the timing thing for sure. It would throw people off. I mean, it would throw me off for sure.
Hmm. Yeah. Uh, heading forward in the evening to the 250 East main event, not Carson Brown, oh my goodness,
Pierce Brown.
Pierce Brown, Cameron McAdoo, and RJ Hampshire, they battled basically the entire main and honestly was probably the most entertaining part of that race,
Mhm.
in my opinion.
Yeah, it was for sure. Hampshire, did he go down in the main or did he go down in the heat race?
He went down in the main,
He
I
went
think
down in the main.
twice. He went down over
He
that
went down hard
trouble
once.
triple. Yeah, yeah. And then I think he tipped it over one more time.
Okay. And he still ended up full, what was he, fourth?
Yeah,
Four,
fourth or
maybe
fifth,
four,
somewhere in there.
five. Yeah, somewhere around there. But that's pretty
Fifth.
good. That's a solid ride. He crashed hard the one time over that triple.
Yeah, I know,
Like that
right?
could have been
Like
bad.
it could have been real bad. So, lucky that he got up, but he just seems to be one of those guys that no matter how he goes down, he's just able to get back up and keep going.
Yeah,
Aside from that one major knee injury that he had last year or the year before,
right.
but still, like, impressive, I guess, like that you're able
Yeah,
to figure it out and get going again.
for sure. Yeah, that was an impressive ride by him.
And just like all those guys just weaving through each other, like their
Yeah.
ability to pass, and counter these guys' actions and anticipate what their next move is going to be. Like there was at one point where I think RJ was going for a 2-for-1 pass on both of them, and so it's like
In that sand
that's some
section.
racecraft. Yeah.
Yeah, it got pretty heated in that sand section there with the three of them,
Yeah.
where Hampshire went from, well, I would say first to three. So like he was first and then third and then first again and then second and then back to first and then third and I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah. I know.
All in like two sections.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
and
a
I
good
think
race.
I think it goes back to just how much the different soils really affected people. Like you
Yeah.
saw them go outside in that sand section where there was some more solid ground and really railed the turn, but then just once they hit the sand, they just bogged down and they're running a sand tire. So can you imagine anyone that chose not to run the sand tire last weekend?
Yeah. I mean, how I don't know how that would play out on the rest of the track though. How do you think it would having a sand tire on?
I mean, not great. I've done it before for sure. Like I've tested it out, and places that are like half and half. You're like, I don't know, but like somewhere
Yeah.
that comes to mind for me is Sandali. Like
I was just gonna say that.
half that track is sand, and the start is sand, right? And then
Yeah.
the other half of it's like black dirt, like hard as a rock, like holy.
Yeah.
So,
Did you run a sand tire sandally when you're up here?
uh, I practiced with it. They had that practice the Monday before the race.
Yep.
I practiced with it, and then I swapped it out and was just kind of like, like hitting the jumps better with the regular tire on.
Yeah. It's personal preference really, and I think it that place anyway, it comes down to if it rains or not prior to the race. Because I think it's rained there before and I ran a sand tire and then last year I didn't because it was so hard packed along the back there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it benefits you in places and others it doesn't really. So
Yeah, I think too, like it's a lot of strategy. Like depending on where that sand section lies on the track, I think makes a big difference for people too. But
yeah.
yeah, just really interesting to see that comparison of line choice and how the line changes so quickly in the sand. There's a lot to it, especially at Daytona when they have all these different kinds of things that they throw at the riders and the teams.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
What did you make of McAdoo? Like we had talked about, he was in that battle, but um, I don't know. After last weekend, I kind of expected him to be more upfront.
Yeah, I agree. I also was a little bit nervous there when he hit the tough blocks and almost went down, much like that crash that he had almost identical in Atlanta.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, no, I agree with you. I expected him to be a little more up there, but you never know. He won there last year, so that may have gotten to his head, or you know, never know.
Yeah. Yeah, and Jett just running away with it, over 10-second lead by the end of the race, like
Yeah,
made it to the checkers and was good. It's impressive. Like, it seems kind of up and down. Like Minneapolis was really great last weekend, not so great. Here again, Daytona, he's doing great. So I don't know. I think he can counter pretty much anything that they throw at him, especially now with a few more top guys out. I think it's his championship to lose.
yeah, for real, big time. I agree.
And last notable thing in the 250 class for me was the Club MX Yamaha team. They had all three of their guys in the top 10, and if you're a privateer team, like I would be stoked. That's so awesome. I think they were 6, 8, and 10 or something like that. Um,
Yeah,
that's a big deal for a team like that.
yeah, for sure. I was pretty stoked. I was talking to Steve about it, and they were all pretty pumped about it. And I was very surprised by Phil. He ran up
Hmm.
there for like 5 or 6 laps with all those guys, and he didn't make it easy for them for sure. But I was pretty stoked for him. I think he was eighth at the checkered, but yeah, I think Frey I was bummed. I just wanted to be up there. That's
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, he's an outdoor guy, so
Yeah,
I think that that plays a little bit more to his favor. Like the East Coast in general, but for sure Daytona
Daytona,
and
Atlanta.
hopefully Atlanta also. Yeah. So
Yeah,
I think it'll be interesting to see how he does throughout the year. Um,
yeah,
and he's just consistent and has veteran, style racecraft. Like
yeah,
just gonna be there, and you know that you're gonna have to go through him to get to the front.
yeah. And I think he's getting more confidence and a little bit more comfortable every week too. So I think he's just going to keep getting better from here.
Hmm. What did Steve had to say about the weekend in Daytona?
He just said that they were all pretty stoked, and he knows that Phil's got a little bit more than what he's had. So I'm excited to see what he can do for the rest of the season for sure. It was just basically on how excited they were, and he asked me how the 450 race was, honestly, because they don't get to watch much of it.
Right.
So he's like, "Oh yeah, I heard the 450 race was good," and that's
Hmm.
really all we were talking about. But
How do
yeah.
you like pitting out of the race car like garages?
I don't know if he mentioned too much on it.
Ah,
Yeah,
it would
I
be
don't
so
know.
cool, I think.
It is pretty cool. We've been in there. I've been in there personally a few times just because I know a couple of the privateer guys, and we went and talked to them. But I guess it was a little bit different this year with you had to have a pit pass to get in there, where in
Mhm.
previous years you didn't have to have one to get in. But yeah, so I guess they had less fans and stuff in that area, which was different for them. And yeah, I guess maybe a gate got knocked down somewhere and they had 5,000 fans rush in at one point. So they
No,
just
they
all
didn't.
closed the doors. They just all closed the doors and waited. It was pretty funny.
Oh my God. Wow, sounds like chaos. Like
Yeah,
the podium, like the crowd around the podium after both the races was like
was
absolutely wild. Like just
they
even
were
hearing it on
stoked.
TV. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was awesome. I know a couple people that are down there and they're all like, yeah, the place went crazy
Hmm.
right after.
That's so crazy because I feel like it hasn't been like that. Maybe recency bias with COVID and all that going on, but I feel like it hasn't really been that wild in a while.
Yeah, it was good to see for sure. I think we're on the hopefully right at the last strand here of COVID, but I think people are just starting to say, ah, it is what it is, and
Hmm.
whatever. So I
Yeah.
like it anyways.
Yeah.
A little bit of a little bit more normal than has been in the last couple of years for sure.
Hmm. Moving on to the 450 class. Anderson Stewart, they find each other again this weekend. I guess it's a new rivalry, maybe. Who knows? Um, so Anderson comes in second corner of the main and pushes a couple guys out. He pushes Tomac into Malcolm. They come into the next corner. Anderson takes this like weird middle line, and then he and Stewart come together at the exit of the corner. What do you think of it? Was it dirty? Was it intentional? Was it an accident?
I mean, I don't think it was intentional because it's a racing incident and it just happens. And I think Anderson's a little bit smarter than that being. I mean, Malcolm has been on the podium, but he's won the last couple weekends. So I think he was trying to be a little bit more smart about it. And I don't think it was intentional, but you never know. You never know what was going on inside of his head. And yeah, it was in a sand section too. So sometimes it's hard to control what's
Hmm.
happening. And
Yeah,
it happened so fast too.
it's not like a normal rut where you can just, be good and then just hold your line. Like the sand just pushes out naturally. So I think Jason just trying to get back going straight and then kind of crossing over where that line had pushed out. I don't know. I don't think it was intentional either. I think it was just a racing incident.
Yeah, for sure.
But they definitely made the first part of the race exciting. The first part of the main, like
Yeah,
going back and
yeah.
forth, and then they both get up in last and going for it again. Uh, what'd you make of it? Like, I felt like that was the most action at the beginning of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. It made for good racing, and it probably made it tough on them too. Now they're working from the back, and it certainly some of those guys did not make it easy to pass.
Mm-mm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
no, it did. You're right. It did make for a pretty interesting main. I mean, that was probably the most action that the main had. So yeah,
Hmm.
you're right.
Yeah, speaking of guys that are not easy to pass, Eli Tomac, Cooper Webb at the end of the race, which I
Yep.
felt like it was kind of like all this excitement with Mookie and Anderson at the beginning, and then the middle was kind of a lull, but then at the end of the race, we come back to Tomac trying to catch and pass Cooper Webb, who uh, I guess I'll get to in a moment because I was very impressed, like Daytona guy now, I guess.
Yeah.
But Webb trying to get around Shane McElrath to lap him, and Tomac just takes advantage of the situation, which of course anybody placed, given that gift, I guess, as he put it,
Yeah.
would have done. What do you do? Who do you put the blame on? Is it Shane? Is it Cooper? Is it both?
You know what? I don't think there's anyone to blame really. I think Cooper maybe could have, had he looked where, because McElrath was already in the whoops. He can't, he already had his line picked and he knew that those guys were coming, but you can only do so much at that point. And I think had Cooper had a look where he was, he could have maybe decided that maybe that wasn't the best line choice. Um, and I think commonly, if you get a blue flag and you know that guys are coming, the right side of the track is oftentimes a place that you'll go. So he would have got out of the whoops and went right to the right where Cooper was. So I don't know. I don't think there's anyone to blame. It happens. I just maybe he could have made a smarter line choice on his part.
Yeah, I agree. Like, in the snowbike racing, I've been in that position a lot where I'm getting lapped, and all I do is just fade outside even more, like trying to be out of the way
Yeah.
because I would hate to be Shane. Like, I'm sure he feels horrible about it.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
it's not like he meant to do it by any means, but
No.
yeah, I agree. Like, looking ahead is really important in
Hmm.
racing. And I guess even at the pro level, like looking farther and farther ahead because you're going so much faster
Yeah.
is something that's really important, and I think would have saved both of them in that situation.
Yeah. In any other section though, if it hadn't have been the whoop section, it would have made Cooper's life a lot easier too, because he could have went around him there.
Yeah,
But when you're in the whoops, you're kind of locked into a line. So
right.
it he didn't make it easy on himself, and I don't think McElrath's to blame for that one. He was already in the whoops. He already had picked his line. So there's
Hmm.
only so much you can do, and I think he would have just went right to the right, and I would have done the same thing, got out of the way,
Hmm.
because the racing line's on the other side. So
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
yeah.
Uh, but other than that, do you think he still would have won if that didn't happen? Like, he was looking
Mhm.
good. Like, Cooper Webb is
Yeah.
not who I think of as like, oh, gonna go win Daytona. Like, you kind of just think of Tomac as gonna go win Daytona, but he was
Yeah.
looking amazing all night.
He was. And even like he got two really good starts. So I think he was feeling it the other night. I don't know. I think had that not happened, it would have been a good race, but I think he could have held him off right till the end. There was only I think there was 2 minutes, so 2 minutes and two laps,
Yeah, yeah.
which is
We'll never know.
they've already been riding almost 20 minutes at that point, which another two in a bit. So
Yeah, yeah. It would have been a better battle. It kind of,
yeah.
as a fan, it's not as exciting to watch him, just pass him like nothing's going on. But um, yeah, yeah, an
Yeah, and then
eventful part for him.
and then after he passed him too, he pulled on him a little bit. So
Hmm.
I don't know. I think it would have been a good battle for sure.
Yeah, but Eli Tomac wins his sixth Daytona in the 450 class. That's pretty wild. That's a statement for sure.
It is, yeah, and it's never been done before.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's another thing. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. Uh, anyone else in the 450 class that stood out to you?
Mm. Well, you put me on the spot here. Who said that to you? I'll let you
Okay.
answer first.
Okay. I'll go with Garrett Marchbanks. We talked about it a little bit at the
Okay.
beginning. Um, fire drill for the team. Like, let's redo the whole handlebar, like mount, everything. Um, it was 11th in the main for a while and finished 15th. Like, that's pretty good, I think.
Yeah, and he was sixth. Was he sixth in? He was sixth for a while, I think, and then he dropped back. But yeah, he was sixth, and I mean, he's running up there with those top guys. So good for him.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah, and
weekend.
he's a big
Yeah, I
kid,
agree.
for
He
sure.
is. He's another tall guy. I feel like every fast guy right now that's riding dirt bikes is like 9 feet tall.
Right, except Cooper Webb, who's like our size,
It,
I think.
yeah, or Amart.
Amart,
Amart's
Amart is
little.
smaller than me, so
Yeah, he's probably
like,
about my height.
yeah, pretty small guy. Which
Yep.
is so interesting, right? Like that you don't have to be a specific body type to be really good on dirt bikes. Like I think
Yeah,
that's unique.
exactly.
Not like football, not like baseball,
Basketball.
yeah, basketball, kind of a cool aspect to the sport, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, anyone else that you can think of?
No, Marchbanks did ride well.
Yeah,
Oh God, Kenny definitely rode better this weekend than he had in the past.
I'd say
Um,
so.
yeah, Webb. I mean, had Anderson and Mookie not come together there, I think that would have been another heated battle again.
Hmm.
Mookie rode really well before that in the heat race and in qualifying. So yeah, just those top guys, everyone's riding really well. So I didn't anticipate that it was going to be anything short of good racing again. But yeah,
Yeah. Um, Looking forward in the championship, Tomac now has an 18-point lead over Jason Anderson. Uh, do you think he's going to continue to an upward trend, keep winning, like maybe be stable and be like, okay, podiums are good? Like, what do you think Tomac's plan is for the rest of the season to hold on to the championship?
another tough one. I think I don't know. It's hard to say. He has been riding well. He's been riding more like himself on this coast than he had on the West Coast. So I think now that he's got on the podium, now that he's won, I think he can do it again. There's no reason why he can't. He's done it already. So, but I think Anderson and Mookie and all those guys are not going to make it easy on him for sure.
Mm-mm.
They're all kind of similar speeds, so I don't think it's going to be easy for him by any means. But yeah, it'll make for good racing.
Yeah, like aside from his poor starts lately, like some of the mains have just not been great starts. He's been starting from the back. Like he kind of seems to avoid trouble. Like
For the
Malcolm,
most part, yeah.
yeah, like you're okay. Malcolm is now in fourth behind Cooper Webb, which is another interesting aspect. But the top four guys of Tomac, Anderson, Webb, and Stewart, like those other three guys seem to get into trouble. Like I think Webb is starting
Yeah.
to get out of the woods a little bit here and be more on his own and have better results. But like Tomac just seems to be solid and stay away from trouble, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree for sure.
So, like I just mentioned, Cooper Webb's in third in points, and he's, 25 points down from Tomac from the lead. Like, is that a threat? If you're Tomac, are you thinking that Webb might start making a charge, like in the second half of the season?
I mean, he has already. He's definitely shown now that he's an East Coast guy rather than a West Coast guy. He's been riding much better on this coast. But I don't know. I mean, you kind of have to go into every weekend with those guys thinking that they're all right around the same speed, and anyone could wake up one day and want to go fast. So, um, yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. And yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think who knows, right? Like, Cooper Webb can just turn it on and just be the guy,
Hmm.
whenever he wants to, and I feel like things are trending in his direction. Like this weekend he could in his mind think like I should have won, I could have been the guy this weekend. And you can take that one of two ways, either be harder on yourself or be like, "Yep, I'm going to go win next weekend because I should have won last weekend." So I
Right.
think things are going to ramp up for Cooper, and I think he might make it a bit more difficult on Eli Tomac for the championship and on a weekly basis. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to watch as things shift from the first half of the season.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, buddy. Do you know anybody going to Detroit this weekend from Canada?
I was asked a few times by a couple people that I should go, but I can't afford it right now.
Yeah.
Field prices are outrageous.
Yeah, no kidding. But
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised because it's not far from the Canadian border. So,
yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
maybe
Yeah, I hope so.
if I do, I'll let you know.
Yeah, for sure. Let me know how it goes because it's always fun to go to a supercross, right?
Yeah, I haven't been to one since Daytona 2019, 2019, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Wait, even before that.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, it was 2019.
I feel like
It's been a while.
in the past I've seen people taking like a bus from Canada to Detroit to go to the race. Is that a thing still?
Likely. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's only like maybe 6 hours,
Mm.
5 hours. So it's not very far from where I am anyways.
Yeah.
If you're like southwestern Ontario, you're like 2 hours from the
Hmm.
border, if not less. So yeah, may as well. It's close to home. I think the border situation now is a little bit easier too. So
Yeah.
for Canadians.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Well, I hope you get the chance to go. It would be
That'd
a
be
lot of fun
cool.
for you. I hope anyone
Yeah.
listening who gets the chance to go gets to go. And thank you, buddy. It's been fun.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
And thanks everybody else for joining us. We will see you next week to talk about Detroit.